Hello and welcome to the Walk in Love podcast. I'm TJ.
And I'm Brooke.
And today we're going to talk about simple money, rich life. Thank you for listening. Thank you for making us a part of your week. The Walk in Love podcast is a weekly conversation between Brooke and I about rhythms, faith, emotions, parenting, finance. Today, it's a place where we laugh and sometimes cry as we try to find language to live a full life.
And if you like your listening to line up with your living, you're in the right place, baby.
Hey, baby.
That was one of the big jokes, week one of Moms on Maui. We were talking about something, probably the coffee shop we tried to go to, which was then closed. And then I was trying to figure out something with dinner and like the website was unhelpful. Like typical Maui, we're like,
oh, I got a typical Maui story.
Nobody knows anything. They might be open. They might be closed. Who knows? Will they serve your table ever? Who knows? Like that kind of a vibe. Yep. And so I was like, Maui baby. And like was kind of joking. Yeah. That phrase stuck.
Oh, okay.
And so then it was insert anything baby. And it was like very like, I was describing the person I picture saying that.
Okay.
As like, I feel like we shot a lot of weddings where that guest was there.
He was an uncle.
Yeah, but he's not quite that old. He was more like he's in the outer ring of the college friends you invited. And you're like, well, we can't invite outer this ring, whole baby. Table without inviting you know who. And he's like kind of country club, but kind of Jersey. Yep. And you're just like, oh gosh, he's here. Yeah. So 700 times, I bet something was said. Insert anything.
All right.
Podcast, baby. Nice. Like,
I'm here for it.
It was dumb. It was real dumb.
That is dumb, but I love it. So when we say we have a typical Maui story, so we have butt clenchers staying in the house right now. Mm-hmm. And last night they had just gotten in, they're exhausted, but we're just trying to keep them awake. Because if you go to bed right when you get in, you'll wake up at 2 a.m. and no one wants that. So we're just chatting, getting to know each other. And they asked, like, is there anything you miss about, like, they were just kind of shocked how far, like, how isolated the islands are, you know, especially like when you're flying and you see the little flight tracker thing on the screen and you're just like, gosh, we are out here. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, yeah. And that's what causes some people to leave. They get island fever and they just can't take it. Like they need things closer nearby.
Yeah.
We personally have not felt that. Mm-mm. I think that's partly because we do get to travel occasionally and go to the mainland and stuff.
If we'd been here over 2 years and still hadn't left, I'd probably be feeling that.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair.
But I don't know if that's the island's fault. That's just like, I haven't gone anywhere, which I would feel. Yeah,
because like you think about the last time you went to visit someone in another town over or like an hour away, we don't have, like that doesn't exist here.
Right.
Unless you get on an airplane and fly to Oahu or the Big Island or something.
Right.
So they were asking us, like, is there anything that you sort of miss about mainland life? And, you know, outside of friends and family and that kind of thing, I said the number one thing, which like, it's not even that big of a thing, but like the thing
it's real.
Think about most frequently is like options, you know, like we have 3 stores we can shop at.
Yep.
Target, Walmart, Costco. Mm-hmm. We have maybe 4 restaurants that we can go to, you know, that are affordable for a family. Mm-hmm. And so like, there just aren't a lot of options. There are a lot of restaurants on Maui.
Right.
A lot of them are nice.
They're geared towards tourists who are on vacation.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And tourists on vacation.
Vacation money's not real.
Yeah.
It's great.
Not real, yeah. And
we should go on vacation.
I miss options.
Yeah.
And then I miss
the speed that goes along with those options. That's how I feel.
There's like specifically in food service here on the island. It is slow. Like I asked them, they went from the airport to Chick-fil-A before they came here. I said, how was your Chick-fil-A service? And they said, it was so slow.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's pretty typical.
Maui baby.
Maui baby. Which like, there's a lesson in that if you're willing to learn it.
Yeah, she was immediately like, we need to slow down. It's fine. We're on island time. I'm like, no, because if your fries are cold, that is different than island time. Yeah. Like those are 2 different things.
Is great.
Stop confusing them.
Cold fries. No.
Not great.
So there are times where you go to a food service industry and you're just like, I like, and we're prepared. We're ready.
I even know it's going to be
ready for the slowness
slow.
Of service or, you know, and whatever. And so, but I would also kind of argue that like, that's sort of like happening on a larger level now. Like,
I mean, maybe I don't know if slowness is part of the larger level.
Like
lack of good customer service is very real. But sometimes they're still mean and fast.
Yeah.
So here's the question: which would you take?
Would you rather have mean and fast or slow and
Probably.
Nice? Oh,
well, it honestly depends on it does depend on the situation.
Yeah.
How many kids? How hungry?
Yep.
Because I can handle a rude. Actually, they're not even rude. They're usually just like robots who aren't there. Not literally robots.
This is my theory. There's 3 types of people that work in customer service.
Yeah.
There are the diamond in the roughs that are just pleasant.
Sallies.
The Sallies out there just working their tails off to get
You're
you
the
food that you want.
It's when you say, I want to talk to your manager because you're actually doing your job well.
The Sallies are great. There's the, what I call the Gen Z robots, where you're unsure if this person is programmed or if they're real. They're not mean.
No, but they won't look at you.
They won't look at you.
They're super monotone.
They're pretty
and
mumbly.
They usually mess up your order.
Yeah. So, because, I mean, robots.
I don't know. We got to be kinder.
Yeah. We better be kinder. I saw this documentary called The Creator. And then there's like the actively hostile, terrible, like you're already mad at me and I just showed up.
Are you upset that I'm ordering from your restaurant, providing part of your job? Sorry.
So I'll take the Gen Z robot any day.
Yes.
And it's not specifically Gen Z, but a lot of the sort of in that era. So we go to, here's my Maui story. Brooke has a favorite things party to go with the big girls, which they absolutely loved.
At the time of their lives.
So I'm home with Daisy and I think I really want these pepperoni pizza rolls from this pizza shop here.
Yeah.
We usually order takeout. Food is delicious. We always enjoy it. And I decide I'm just going to go and I'm going to sit with Daisy and
because they do have like a little outside place.
We're going to go on our first date and it's going to be great. And she's just the best right now.
Yeah.
She just says all the words and has
100%.
Yeah. So we get there, lady's super nice.
Oh,
I have Sally. You know who I'm talking about.
I know exactly who you mean because I'm literally like, how can I tip just you?
Yeah.
And how can I tell somebody you are doing a fantastic job?
And she's young too.
She's very young. Yeah. And that's why so it stands out. She's got the big eyelashes, real little dark hair. She's cute. Yep. Big fan.
So she's confused though. She's like, is it just the two of you? And I'm like, yeah, just the two of us. Oh, okay. Well, come on in, and I'm like, and so we call her to the table, and then she's like, no, it's just the two of you that are sitting here. And I'm like,
she's like waiting for you to spring 20 minutes later on her that like, hey, the rest of my family arrived, and now we need to switch tables.
No, I'm just like, yeah, it's just the two of us. So she sits down. I can see all tables in this area.
Right.
There's no hidden room.
No, it's one room, and there's, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just from a glance, there's maybe 15 tables.
There's two other one. There's one family is finishing up. One person, there's another group of 3 sitting and it looks like their food is almost there.
Okay.
And then there's another family that just sat down, maybe a few minutes before me.
Okay.
So we sit down, 10 minutes go by.
Literally, because I checked your timestamps on your text.
And finally the waiter, who I can see the whole time.
Yeah. Right there, clear as day.
Yep. Here I am. And maybe he didn't know. Maybe he thought more people were showing up. I don't know.
That's true. He's like, there's got to be more people than this. This doesn't make any sense.
And so he finally comes up. He's like, hey, can I get you guys drinks to get started? And I'm like, I'm just going to order. I just want to get ahead of this.
Yeah.
This pace.
Yeah.
Because
we're ready. We will take our desserts and our check right now.
I'm like, I'm here with a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely a time limit.
Yeah.
To which she will be entertained and like
100%.
Or just like not. I want to get up and run around. So I'm like, here's what we want. We'll take some waters. He says, very kind. Nice.
He was, yeah.
Yeah. And, but we're sitting outside. It's like an outside inside type place. But it's open. It's open air. Mail trucks are going by. Trucks are going by. A fire truck goes by. Wow. Daisy is having the time of her life. People are running. There are people on bicycles.
Because there's,
motorcycles,
it is a busy street.
Dogs. Dog. Pet. Hug. Bite.
Ow.
No. Ouch. That's how she talks right now. And then the fire truck goes by with the sirens on and she's like, ooh, scared me. Whoa. I'm like, Daisy, what sound did it make? Whoa. And she puts her hands up while she does it. So we're sitting there for about 25 more minutes. And then the waiter comes back up and goes, you guys don't have your food yet? And I'm just like, hold on.
Yeah.
This isn't a 50-person staff here.
Yeah. Where like someone else is sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
Someone else delivers the actual food.
Like, who would have brought us our food?
Right.
I'm pretty sure that's one of your jobs. And I'm like, no, we don't. I'm like, no, we ate it. We bust our own tables. We put everything away. I actually washed the dishes in the back, and we just came back out here to sit and drink our waters and watch the fire trucks go by. And he's like, oh, okay, I'll be right back. I'm like, all right. So he comes back, and do I want to give him the benefit of the doubt? Absolutely. Do I think he totally made this up? 100%. Yes. There is an error because at this point, 3 other families have sat down, one of which has already gotten its food. So like they came in after us, they ordered after us, and they got their food.
Right.
He comes up and says, hey, the printer malfunctioned. And so the kitchen never got your printing slip. And I'm like, oh, and there's, because of the grace of God.
The printer works for all these people.
That's 100% what I want to say. But because I just want to be like a kind, loving, joyful human, I keep those thoughts on the inside now. There was a point in life where DJ would have said that with his outside voice. So praise be. And so he's like, we'll be out in 10 minutes. It's probably another 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. But it was fine. But it was just
you didn't really have anywhere else to be. It's just like not the most enjoyable experience.
Yeah. And I was just enjoying Daisy talking about the trucks and the things and stuff. But I was just like, man, that was painful.
Yeah.
Like that was painful.
Yeah.
And
painful, baby.
And it's painful because I can see the speed at which he's moving from table to table. And I'm like, just a little bit of hustle. And I think everyone here would like you.
There's a part of me that feels like to people listening, you're like, okay, like not everything has to be efficient and you need to slow down and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I don't think you understand how actually physically slow people move here. Like it literally blows my mind that it's even possible.
Yeah.
Like I said to somebody the other day, I don't even know what it was. I think we were at the shops at Wailea. We were probably getting acai bowls and somebody was doing something. And I turned and I said, dead serious, I do not think I could walk that slow if I tried.
Yeah. And like, I think that's because
I am not joking.
I think that's because I was raised by Cindy Macedas world record in the airport walk.
What do you think well, I guess it would be just as fast as
the 50 gate airport walk.
The terminal to terminal.
Yeah. Cindy's got it.
A to Z.
100%. She's got it. She's got that lockdown.
Yeah.
You got to carry a rollerboard with one extra bag attached.
Right.
You're not beating her.
Right.
And she's in work shoes. So
I think I'd give her a run for her money, but her stamina, she might out me. I might, like, if we're going gates A to Z.
Tortoise and hares situation.
Right. Like, I could hold it for a while because I can walk real fast.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I got it in me to make it all the way to the other terminal.
So it was fine. Again, it was fine. Like I'm not saying this all to like complain
it's not
or
an
anything like
complaint.
that. It was just like, it's just one of those scenarios where like, this is happening. This is my life now.
And then they're like, how would you like to tip? 25%, 35%, or 45%.
Like, well,
none of those percents, please.
Is there an option of like, maybe a discount because we waited so long? Like,
I'd like to check other, please.
I feel like if someone comes in after you and orders their food after you and gets their food after you, like it should be a restaurant standard that you get a discount.
Right.
I would like to.
Maybe there's like a little leeway based on the table size.
100%.
Because if it's like a party of 8 versus a party of 2.
Same or less.
Right. Something like that.
If a same or less table orders, and they're not just ordering chips, but they order like similar styles.
Right. It's a lot of
It's a lot of things to take track of, but I think with AI
they
on
have
our
time.
side, we can do it.
Yeah. I would think so.
I forgot to mention the sponsor 14 minutes in, but I'm going to hit it now.
Oh.
The sponsor of the Walk on the Podcast.
Also, baby.
It's us. That's not going to get old. I love it. I love that for you.
Well, the best part is that Kim was like, she was like, I keep saying it around John and
it just doesn't hit.
Just doesn't hit the same as it did on Maui because they were doing something, and she was like, spaghetti, baby, or like whatever. Dead. Crickets. Silence. She's like, yeah, okay, it's fine.
It's cool. Whatever. You wouldn't get it, John. You weren't there. Geography joke. Love to be a part of one someday. So the sponsor is always something that we've got going on. If you want to support the podcast, we make that possible in lots of different ways. The way that we're making it possible now is the 25 Teas of Christmas. So every day for 25 days, starting on November 16th at 9 p.m., we will release a new design every day for 25 days. Some of those designs are like throwbacks. Some of them are brand new. I would say it's
a lot of them.
No, I think
actually, we did the math.
Yeah, it
was like 51.
13 are brand new. 12 are reprints.
but on different colors and things, probably.
Out of those 12, some of them are so old that they sort of feel brand new.
Yeah.
But how it's going to work is on day one, the first t-shirt will go live.
Yep.
And it will be up there until it sells out.
Right. So it's like the tea of the month where it's inventoried.
It's inventoried.
So we have a set amount. It's ready to ship that day or the next day or whatever.
You can gamble.
Ooh,
and
classic pinky arm scenario.
We'll get into that. You can gamble and be like, okay, I'm going to wait until 2 or 3 are out and then buy them together.
She gone. It might be gone.
But if it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, 25 days in a row. And so to continue this advertisement, we're going to give our Mount Rushmore, Rushmore, Caw-caw, baby, of the 25 days of Christmas.
Oh, he didn't get electrocuted today?
No, he's fine. Yeah. Glory be to God.
Be free. Be free, little eagle. Be free. My mom said she saw an eagle fly over their house the other day.
Oh, wow.
I feel like they're what's these laws with these eagles?
Have you ever seen that meme? It's like, you spend 30 some years of your life not caring a single thing about birds. And then all of a sudden one day you're like, that's a double cracker hornbill.
Yeah,
like,
a double cracker crested. Not crackered. No, it's very real.
Yeah.
It's very real. I mean, I've always been interested a little bit. Maybe not interested. I knew about them because of my mother. Like in high school, I remember in high school being like, how am I the only one that knows the names of birds and trees? This is weird. And then I was like,
bird watcher.
Maybe I'm
adjacent.
Yes.
You're not bird watcher.
No.
You're just adjacent.
Well, I was adjacent growing up. And now I'm like, I have a bird feeder suction cup to our window. So I'm all in. I'll take 2.
So 25 Teas of Christmas, your Mount Rushmore of them.
Okay.
You want to go every other? This is really exhilarating audio content.
I know, but it's fine. No, let's all go in a row. You go first.
Faith Can Move Mountains, new Faith Can Move Mountains design.
So good.
So good.
On what color tea?
It's like a dark grayish tea.
Mm-hmm.
I've decided to follow Jesus, no turning back.
Oh, man.
Front back design.
I didn't put that on my list because I knew it was on yours.
Classic TJ style shirt.
I love that phrase and song so much.
Stay Sunny, which isn't for me, but I just love, like, the design is so fun. I'm not going to wear it, but I think I think
really you could wear it, babe.
And then one that
vest.
that is near and dear to my heart. It says, keep it simple. It's a small print. But when we brought Walk in Love back, that was one of the 3 designs that we had. So do not worry.
That was one of the 3
that
came back.
Yep. Keep it simple. And
I think everybody just got an email about that story.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. So those are my 4.
Those are good. Okay. Mine are, can you move your head? Because I can't see what you wrote down. Okay. Is it lilac? Some sort of purple. Okay. I love you. Bye. So good. Then what color sweatshirt is that? Because that's new.
It's like a maroon.
But it's more.
Yeah.
It's like a.
Describe it for me.
Well, what color is this t-shirt right here? Turn around and touch that.
It's cardinal.
Okay. Well, it's kind of cardinal. It's more purpley than maroon.
Maroon.
It's so pretty. Stop it. And it says choose joy. That one, I can't see any designs right now. Oh yes. That sage colored one that says Walk in Love and has the big like islandy print on it. Very, very good. And then probably I'm torn.
Now you're changing the list I typed out?
No, I'm going to keep the one, which is, what does it say? He will.
Yep. He'll make a way in the wilderness.
He will make a way in the wilderness. I love it. But equally tied there is the No Turning Back and the Faith Can Move Mountains. But you had those.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, they're spoken for.
25 days in a row. If you subscribe on Instagram, you'll get a schedule of them.
You'll actually see them all and know what's happening.
Your purchases, or like maybe pick your one day. And then we had everyone vote on the second perk, because we can't do the day early thing for Instagram subscribers. And when we say Instagram subscribers, we mean the paid $4.99
not followers,
a month.
right?
Subscribers. So we couldn't do the day early. It was just going to be too much for us to handle.
It's confusing inventory wise.
So we decided to have you guys vote on the second perk. And the perk that won was a one-time 25% off coupon that you can use on any of the 25 Teas of Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could wait till the end, try to grab up a bunch.
Yeah.
Or that's where it's like, to me, that's so fascinating from just like a human perspective of like, what do you do? What would you do?
If I had a one-time code to spend?
No, if you like, how would you shop the 25 Teas of Christmas? You love this brand. They're doing this thing. You know, they're limited. Some might sell out in your size. What's your
I
move?
would probably order what I want when I want it.
Just like right away?
Yes, because that matters more to me, that I get the ones I actually want. But see, I would subscribe. I would want to know what's coming. And then I'm okay if I order 3 times.
Okay.
But I want to know what I want.
Yeah.
The whole like, I'm going to wait and order all together to try to save that.
It's risky.
Yeah. But people do.
People will.
Save all you can.
Save all you can. Nice tie-in. I think I would subscribe.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would rate, like I would have some sort of rating system of like, this is a pull the trigger right away as soon as it's live. And then like, this one is like, I'll wait to like if there was one.
Oh, like close near.
Like let's say no turning back. That one is on day 6 or whatever.
And you're doing it. You're all in.
I am absolutely buying this
You'll
one.
take 2.
Then I would look at 1 through 5 and say, if day 3 is still available on day 6, I'm going to buy them both.
Ooh, okay.
That would be my strategy.
You got a lot of Cindy energy right now.
I do?
Yeah.
She's my mom.
Your face. I know when you're figuring all that out.
She's airport walk. So 25 Teas of Christmas. Can't wait for you guys to see him. I'm very proud of the work that we did to do these.
Yeah.
And
they look good.
we found some new designers and we worked with designers and designed some ourselves. And so I'm just like glad of the variety and stuff. So we have a new segment today. I wish I had a sound bite for it.
What could it be? Anybody say that?
Maybe it could be this one.
I go online. I go click, click, click.
Kinda.
Okay. So the segment is called
Really
I'll Take
not
Two.
know how Netflix works? Right?
I think you just ruined the segment.
I go online. I go click, click, click.
And I'll take 2. How about that?
It takes 2, baby. It takes 2, baby. Me and you.
It takes 2. So the premise, the idea behind this is like something so good, I'll take 2 of them.
Yes.
So these are things that we're using in our lives that we use on a daily basis, whatever. So mine is Brooke has broken 4.
No, 3.
3 drink. Well, actually,
Milk
one of ours
frothers.
wasn't ours.
No, it was Matt's.
Matt left.
That was the first one that broke.
That broke.
And then we've ordered 2 more.
And they've both broke.
Here's why though. Because
Give me your theory.
I don't have a theory. I know exactly what I'm doing.
We put them in the dishwasher and the battery
It's
doesn't
so
work.
weird. It doesn't work anymore. No, a milk frother, if you're not familiar, is like this tiny little contraption that like whips your milk around. But here's the thing. It's not actually whipping. It's frothing. It is a different thing. I like to put sweet cream and things like that on top of my coffees. And so I'm using the frother kind of like an electric whisk.
Okay.
And that's the problem. I'm burning out the motor.
Which seems crazy.
It does seem crazy. I'm like, come on. But that's why it keeps happening. Because if we were only whipping liquid, I think we'd be fine. But that's it. I've never.
See, I don't think so. I think they would still break.
You do?
I don't think it's a quality thing.
Okay.
Anyways,
trash. We did take 2.
Yeah, we took 3. Well, we stole one for Matt. He left it behind. So we used that. And then
That's a perk of living here. No one expects you to mail anything back.
It's ours. If you
it's
leave
ours
something
forever.
Here, it's ours forever.
So
Calista.
I go through people's stuff and I hide it.
Flip-flops forever.
I know exactly which ones you mean.
So
anyway, so we were like, how do we make this better?
This new drink stir that we got.
It's like a rechargeable mini whisk. So you can put the whisk. It works like a zzz thing.
No, it has low, medium, and high.
It does. But I mean, it's the same handheld thing. Except it has the little, you can put the frother attachment on, the whisk attachment on. There's a third attachment that my brain's not remembering right now. It's great.
So
I go online. I go click, click, click.
And I'll buy 2.
I love it.
Linked in the show notes.
It's great.
If I remember.
Write it down. That's why you have your iPad.
Yep. Got it.
Mine would be, here's the thing. I ordered it and I literally did order 2.
Oh.
I go online. I go click, click, click.
But they're not here yet. So I'm a little nervous.
To make it your official.
Because then I'd be like, well, now I'll take 4. Because like I would have to double it because I've already got 2. I finally ordered.
Oh my word.
Greenery garlands for our house. But no, here's the thing. You are, come on. You're acting like this is the biggest thing ever. Can I remind you that in Pennsylvania, I just bought it fresh every year and I never hesitated. Maybe I hesitated, but I still bought it. Right?
I would say that the amount of time we've talked about Garland in my life.
Not enough.
Is
never
like if someone was like,
enough.
hey, TJ, you're going to be 38 years old. How many
You're buying box fans
how
and
many
body pillows on vacation.
Yeah.
Let me set the scene for you.
Yeah. You're going to be 38 years old. You're going to be married to the love of your life. You're going to live here are two scenarios that I want to throw by you. One is you end up living on Maui with you and your family.
Wild.
Two is you have conversations about buying Garland every single year for about 10 years. Which one is more plausible? I'm picking Hawaii.
Yeah, here we are. We've done both.
We've done both.
Wow.
So
look at us.
That is good.
Way to go, guy. I did it though. I actually did it. Here's the little bit of it.
I'm gonna laugh when Amazon's like, "There's a problem with your order."
Cannot deliver to your location. They don't ship here because of some chemical in them or something. Hopefully not. No, I finally did it. Here's the funny thing, and I'm not exaggerating. This is one of those like, wow, you didn't think of that sooner, Brooke? It was only this year that I looked on Amazon. No, yes, 100%, 100%, 1,000%. Because all the previous years of living, again, where there's options in Pennsylvania, it was like there was stuff at Target, there was stuff at Home, there was stuff at TJ Maxx, there was stuff at every grocery store, real, fake, all the things. I was just picking from what was in front of me, didn't really think about it. And then we moved here and I was like, I'll just buy something fresh, year one. And then I was like, doesn't really exist.
No.
And then year two, I just don't think I really thought about it. And now well, it's not really year. Christmas number. Now we're coming up on our third Christmas. And I was like,
it's here. It's on the way.
I want something green. So it's going to have to be fake.
Yeah.
And I looked on Amazon and I found something and I actually ordered two. I hope that it's nice. The reviews were good.
Yeah.
So we shall find out.
You did it. World's best cup of coffee.
You're doing it, Peter.
Okay. And then the last thing that we're going to bring back, but differently.
Mm-hmm.
So if you listen to the podcast, if you listen to all episodes, we used to do Song of the Week.
Mm-hmm.
Then YouTube started sort of telling us, hey, you can't, blah, blah, blah. Copyright. And then I think we've had actually a podcast episode taken down because of it.
Yes.
And so we can't actually do Song of the Week.
Can't play the songs anymore. So we're going to sing them. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking.
I love it. So Song of the Week is more like, that's just what the segment's called. It's more just like, here's what we've been listening to.
Yeah.
Some of them will actually add to the two playlists that we have, which you can find linked in the show notes every episode. But it's this new album by this band called the Grey Havens called Come and Behold the Wondrous Mystery. And it's like classic hymns, but they feel a little modernized, but not like ruined modernized. Like just like sung with like more like, I don't know.
They're produced more like modern music, but they've kept the magic of a hymn. Yeah.
And so I've been playing that little album basically nonstop.
Yeah.
And it feels Christmassy, but it's not specifically Christmassy.
Yeah.
There is a Christmas song on it, but
it's good.
Yeah, it's just really good. So that's mine.
Yeah. Mine is not one specific song, but if you subscribe to the Walk in Love Weekly newsletter that goes out on Fridays, I've been talking about them a lot. So discovered a band. It's like a duo, I think. It's two girls. I don't think they're sisters, but beats me. Called Moody Judy, Moody Joody,
Yeah.
Moody Judy. And it's just fun.
They're good.
It's super fun. Sometimes Taylor Swift vibes, but without all the stuff that comes with Taylor. And then, like I'm neutral on Taylor. Like I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, sometimes I'm like, man, I said to you the first time we listened to Moody Judy, I feel like this version of music wouldn't completely exist without Taylor. Like she has in her songwriting and just the way she writes her songs. I mean, she's created this little genre that like kind of she can take a lot, not all, but a lot of credit for. And I get vibes of that in a good way for Moody Judy, but it's like fun, lots of vocals. It's just fun.
Yeah.
This segment's less fun when you can't hear it, but Just every week. It's fun. It's great. We keep listening to it.
We'll link those. We'll put those in the show notes.
Yeah.
And I think that's it for segments.
Yeah.
So Brooke, how was your week?
Good. I think I did a good amount of work.
We had some intense conversations this week.
Yeah.
There are times in your marriage where you just have to have intense conversations.
Yeah.
And it's not like a fun thing.
Right. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah. It wasn't like
hard is not the same thing as bad.
Right. Like we didn't get in fights this week.
No.
We just had like intense sort of like, what's going on? How can we do this well?
Yeah.
Do we need to recalibrate a little bit?
Yeah.
How can we be on the same team?
Yeah.
What are ways we're not working together that we could work together?
Mm-hmm.
Like I would say like the overall like
how many Garlands is too many Garlands?
Yeah.
You know.
How many more years are we gonna have Garland talk? I feel like the overarching theme of the conversations were like, how do we get on the same page? Like, let's get on the same page.
Or all of life.
Because like even the conversation we had last night.
Oh, true.
That was much more on the personal side, but like, let's get on the same page. Not that we were on different pages or like, I think there are times in our marriage where we're in different books. We're literally like reading two different plans for our lives. And we're just like, why are you talking like that? I'm like, like there's an element of
that
like,
happens. Yeah.
We're speaking different languages. We're in different books.
Yeah.
And then there are times I think in your marriage where you're like, you're on the same book, but you're on different pages.
Yeah.
And then there are times where like you're on the same page in the same book and things are thriving and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I feel like there are times where like,
I feel like there's times where all the papers have been ripped out of the notebook and they're in a messy pile on the floor. And so we're like, our pages are actually not that far from each other. They're just scattered.
Yeah, that's good.
That's what I picture.
Yeah.
Like we need to reshuffle and organize and pick which page is going to be on top of the pile.
And so I feel like our conversations this week were sort of around that. Some of that with work, some of that with personal.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, there are times where that just happens and it's neither good nor bad, but sometimes it is hard of just like, but that's what marriage is. Like we have committed to loving each other for all of time. And we want to have a healthy relationship where we can communicate clearly and often. And sometimes when you want to do that, you have to have real talk.
Yeah. Yeah. So. Lots of conversations about conversations and like lots of talking about how to talk about is often part of that. And that can feel like, this is silly. Are we really spending time talking about how to talk about something? Yeah. You kind of negate it and you try to just jump right into the topic. And sometimes that's not always the most helpful thing.
And I feel like one thing that we learned this week, at least about ourselves, was like, there are times in life where like, and we kept using this sort of language and we'll share this. And I wasn't planning on sharing this, but I think it might be helpful for some of you out there. Let's say you have a long to-do list, 1 through 100, and it's in order of priority. The number one thing is the biggest priority.
Yeah.
Number 100 is the lowest priority.
Order Garland's very low on the list.
And so one thing that Brooke and I realize, something that we do is 1 through 10 feel daunting and like there's too much at stake. And so it's like a little bit scary and nerve wracking, but I want to get something done because I want to be productive and
I have a pocket of time or this is my time or whatever.
And so we randomly jump down to number 37.
Yeah. It's like,
we finish it.
Boop, we pick that one.
Like, okay, that was great.
It's done.
But that's not like, that's not the number one thing.
You did not move the car of 1 through 10 forward at all.
And so
the cars are in the same place.
Yes. And so then we end up doing that like week in and week out. Yeah. And then there comes a point in time where, now I'm frustrated with you or you're frustrated with me because we have not moved the ball down the road or, like we haven't moved anything forward that really matters in this season.
Yeah.
But then we sort of get like defensive, but like, oh, look, I checked all, like I did
this, and this.
42 and 86 and, 101. And just like, that wasn't even on the list.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that was super helpful for us to sort of, again, have new language. That's like, okay, here's our list. What matters most, which is something we talk about often.
We talk about that a lot. But see, our problem wasn't in determining numbers 1 through 10.
It was in,
we know 100% what is in 1 through 10 or 1 through whatever.
Yeah.
The order of the list was not the issue. It was what are we picking off of the list when we have a moment.
And what we were picking was more of just like for our own personal like gratification in terms of like, I know if I pick this, I can finish it, and that will give me a sense of accomplishment.
Yes. Or like time.
Yeah.
So it's like, so I got 30 minutes. I'm going to pick a task low on the list that's 30 minutes instead of putting 30 minutes in to numbers 1 through 10. Yeah. And a week later, you would have hours into that, you know,
and
kind
so
of an
that
idea.
was really like, I feel like that was super helpful in terms of just like both in terms of like business that we run together, but also like, you know, what's the top thing we're training our kids for right now?
Yeah.
And so like training is a good thing. Like, are we training our kids to like do chores, or to like, is there like a certain behavioral, like that thing that we're focusing on? Or because that's hard. Like that takes persistence and determination and patience and dedication. And it's like, oh, let me just train them how to like, you know, take out the trash.
Right. Or I don't know. You pick something, pick something that you're like, I mean, they do need to know that, but that's really not a huge deal.
And so, so again, if it's easy for you to name what matters most, but then you sometimes fall into the trap that we did of just like picking what
lower priority items in the name of
that language.
Completing it or usability. Yeah.
So I feel like our week was sort of centered around that conversation a bunch of different times. And then, you know, sort of following through on, okay, if that's what matters most, let's find the time. Let's give each other the gift of time. Let's work out ways that we can kind of do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because we've had just more things to do lately, especially with work and with the 25 Ts and with Sunny Morrow and with Tiny Rhythms and with the new website. And there's just been a lot of stuff on the plate. So it's like, it's easy for us to have the pages feel scattered.
Yeah.
And that's a good language too. Bringing them back together and reorganizing them is like, that was what I feel like the conversation did.
Yeah.
So,
it was really good.
Other than that, it was just basically a normal week.
Yeah. I think so.
Daisy learned how to float in the ocean with her floaty. So that was big for our family. Yeah. So she swallowed about a gallon of seawater, but I think that's fine.
Salty Wawa, no.
Yeah.
Like, please stop swallowing that much.
So we're going to talk about this book today. It's called Simple Money, Rich Life by Bob
Lodich?
I've heard about
Lodick?
this. How about this one?
Are you saying see the world or sea world?
I don't know. Sure. So our friend Jesse Early, who will be singing at the Christmas extravaganza, get your tickets now. If you need a discount code, message me. I'll send you one. She was here doing a songwriting workshop and then ended up staying a few extra days and asked if she could stay in our house. And we said, absolutely, of course you can. And so we're just sitting and chatting, and she mentions this book. And, you know, we have this rule. That
my favorite, what she said was, it's my favorite financial book I've ever read. It's the only financial book I've ever read, but.
And so we ordered it, and Brooke started kind of we ordered on, you know, like a hard copy of it. Brooke started reading it, and I've kind of developed this rule that on my bike ride to and from the gym, except on Fridays, I have to listen to an audiobook or something sort of like I have to listen to the Bible or I have to listen to an audiobook. I kind of broke that rule this week by doing the 6 a.m. class because I was just like, my brain is not ready to absorb information, but if I'm going to the normal 8 audiobook. So I listened to it.
Yeah.
And this is going to sound weird to say as like a recommendation for this book. Like we haven't done very many podcasts on specific books.
No, we haven't.
Like obviously there's a huge recommendation in that.
Right.
That like.
We actually want to talk about it here.
But I will say that like, there's nothing in this book that is like,
it's going to blow your mind.
Breaking rocket science.
Right.
Like it is pretty simple,
pretty practical,
straightforward, pretty practical. But what it felt like, especially in the season of life that we are in, as we were reading it, was like just a nice refresher and like a fresh wave of vocabulary to talk about money and finances.
Yeah.
Brooke and I are, we come from very different backgrounds when it comes to finances. And I remember this like very specifically, the first time you came over to my family's house, it was like a party or something like that. And money was starting to be talked about.
Okay. Yeah, probably.
And I remember like you had this sort of like big-eyed look on your face. And I was like, what's going on? She's like, I'm just like kind of amazed how openly you guys talk about money. And I was like, I didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
Because that's the way I was raised.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is because we were raised on support. And so like, it was very much like our money comes from people who like, are trusting God with their money. And so like, it was just like an open conversation thing.
Yeah.
And not that you guys were like secretive about money, but it was just like,
but it still was different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what this book has kind of done for us, at least this year, is like, it has allowed us to just, again, come up with phrases and language and conversation topics about money, both in the like immediate and then also like for the future.
Yeah.
So 100% recommend it.
Yes, very much so.
And I think today we're just going to kind of share some of our main takeaways. Do you want me to go first or do you want to go first?
I don't know. We can kind of ping pong. I'll go first. So I think if you read the book, you might end up feeling like we did, which is like, wow, there was nothing in there that like you said, T, was actual rocket science, blew my mind. Whoa, this is going to change my whole world in terms of finances. However, I do believe that it will change your whole world because 100%. It makes you realize with the language he uses and the stories he tells that handling your money well is not rocket science.
Right.
It's not this thing that's reserved for certain people who understand it and can afford, all these advisors and all this stuff. Like it's actually pretty simple if we let ourselves believe it as such. But then we have to move forward believing that. And believing that I do have the tools and I do have the knowledge to actually make an impact.
Yeah.
Little by little, by tiny little. And so he has this story. He has a ton of stories, but he's talking about how like so many of us in our financial journeys, especially if you feel like you are at a place where you're really stuck or like it's not a great situation, like something like that. We're just like, you might feel like I've already tried everything. Like you might be at a point where you feel like you've already tried it all. You're going to be stuck here forever. This is your life forever. And he tells this little story about how just like, if the world of finances or whatever is like this keychain with 25 keys on it, and like you could take that, or not even finance, like you could take that keychain with all these keys and you could go from room to room to room in a house, in a school or wherever. Yeah. But only one of those keys is going to open one of those doors.
Right.
And so like you just might not have found your key yet for your door that unlocks it for you to where you finally go, oh, I get it now. Yeah. Like I get it. And this is actually going to like make a change in my life where I now feel like I can make a change in my life, which is just really cool. Cause I feel like I was never really confused about money. But I definitely felt like I felt like my key that I needed to finally unlock the door was some of the language around it. Like, yes, I've heard of the snowball method or whatever. And yes, I've heard of this and I've heard of that. But like, none of that really totally applied to where we were at right now. And so it was like some of this like that was my key. Like the language to be like, here's some of these things which we're going to talk about that are actually going to like radically change it for us. And so I told a story at the Best Is Yet to Come. And I'm pretty sure I've already told it on here. I think maybe when we were recapping that, event, but I got it from this book. And so he is talking about it in terms of money. So, I mean, chapter 1 is literally called The Battle is His, but you have to show up. And he talks all about how like something has to be done in life. And he's speaking about your finances before you see the miracle. They had in the Bible, he talks about all these different stories about how like they had to march down into battle. Like Judah and Jehoshaphat had to march into the battle against a far superior army before God delivered them. Moses had to walk up to the Red Sea, stretch out his staff before it parted. And then like the disciples began distributing the food before it was multiplied to feed the 5,000. And then he tells the story about how to outrun a chariot, which is the one we've talked about. And just how like in 1 Kings, we see Elijah do something really crazy, which is where the Lord gave him special strength. The Lord gave special strength to Elijah. He tucked his cloak into his belt and ran ahead of the chariot all the way to the entrance. So the Lord gives him literal superpower, basically, to outrun a chariot, which like when I picture a chariot running, I picture like the Prince of Egypt and how fast they were going in that movie. Nice. I'm sure there's other movies, but that's what my brain pictures. And
an animated movie.
Yes, 100%. And when I think about how fast that is, like it's real. Like the Lord really did something there. But what this whole sermon was about was how he picked up his cloak and tucked it in before he started running. He did what he could. He did the natural so that God could do the supernatural. And having that language just in life in general, it's why I've talked about it so many times, because it reminds me that day after day after day after day, when I feel like I'm just doing the natural, is that enough?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what I'm supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
Is it all actually going to add up towards something? It reminds me that like, no matter what it adds up towards, I still need to do my part.
Yeah.
And my part will only ever be the natural part.
Yeah.
I cannot do the supernatural.
Yep.
So I need to stop like subconsciously expecting myself to deliver supernatural results, because that's not what we're supposed to do. And it's not going to happen. And so I could talk about that whole story just on and on and on. But thinking about it in terms of finances was great. Like, because I wouldn't say that currently I'm in a situation of like crying out, like, Lord, deliver us from this thing.
We have been there though.
But we have been there. And so when I think about that, and
there was a time in our lives where we were running around our house looking for change so that we could pay our mortgage.
Right. To go to a Coinstar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like,
that was the joke. Do you accept Coinstar receipts?
Yeah.
As proof that we have money. Yeah. Yeah. And so, I sort of forget where I was going, but,
you're not in a scenario where.
Right. Oh yeah. I don't necessarily feel that now, that like I needed that language right now today to figure out some financial situation, but we have been there. And when you're there, I think it's so easy to feel, like I just said, like not spending $5 here, canceling a $5 thing there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not going to matter. It's not ever going to add up to anything. Right. It's never going to work.
Yeah.
We're here forever. It's like, but also that's the only thing I can do.
Yeah.
The only thing I can do is the natural, which is things like that. Saving here where I can, doing this where I can, and then just believing that the Lord will use and redeem all things.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
And so like the main sort of overarching theme of the book is earn all you can.
Save all you can.
Save all you can.
Earn all you can. Give all you can. Enjoy it all.
And so one of the big takeaways for me in the book, again, this one I'd actually never thought about. So maybe this was more of the rocket science topic. But like normally, like when you're talking about your finances or thinking about your finances, you're like, okay, how much money do I make?
Mm-hmm.
How much do I spend? Mm-hmm. What's left over? And where does that go to? Mm. And we have that equation in our lives. We have what we make, what we spend,
right?
What's left over. And then we have percentages of whatever's left over goes into different accounts,
like buckets and things. Yeah.
And so what he sort of argues or just encourages is why don't let's not start with how much we make or how much we spend.
Right.
Let's start with how much we want to give. And let's start with that number first. And
lifetime give, right?
Well,
or are they not tied together?
No, he talks about that too, but he talks about just like, what is your giving goal? What do you want to give away? And so for him, his thing is he gives whatever percentage his age is. So he just turned 40 something.
I think so.
So he gives away 40% of his income, which is incredible.
Yeah.
And so I remember listening to this as I'm pushing Daisy in the stroller, walking around the loop and just asking the Lord, like, okay, what is that number for us? What do you want us to give? Like, what can, and he was like, and honestly, like, don't be afraid to like make it something big. Like, don't be afraid to make it something that only God can get you to.
Right.
Which I was like, okay, well, what is that number for us? And so I don't think I'll go into details on the number, but the number was confirmed a few times in very weird ways after it happened, that I was just like, man, this feels like it's from the Lord. But that was just so helpful to me of like, okay, I'm going to start there. And if I start there and I'm faithful to like trying to hit that sort of goal, then I think God will take care of the rest.
Yeah.
So that was like probably my biggest takeaway of just like, man, and I've always, I believe that I've always been a pretty faithful giver.
Yes.
I feel like generosity is something that's important to me and matters to me. And that was like, like my parents did it well. My parents are extremely generous. And so I saw it throughout my whole life.
Yeah.
And so, but I never had that perspective switch of just like, let's start with that and then worry about the other stuff afterwards.
Yeah. It's like a reverse engineer of the giving.
And it was like, okay, well, if I'm going to give this big amount,
Right.
per
If
year.
I need to give $10 away, I need to make more than $10.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
that was really kind of, for me, probably the biggest takeaway and just like the biggest encouragement. But I will say this, I feel like it was Blue Like Jazz, Donald Miller's book,
Maybe.
where he talks about giving.
Okay.
And just being faithful with giving, and how he realized during his early Christian life that like he wasn't giving anything away, and he had every excuse in the book. I don't make enough money. If I do that, I won't be able to pay my bills, all this kind of stuff. And then he started making a literal jar called God's Money. I think this is his, it might not be Blue Like Jazz, it might be his first book.
Okay. One of his books, though. You think it's him?
Yeah. And he just like started to put money, like 10% every week, just in cash in this jar, because he was like, if I put it in the jar, that's a visual representation of like, this
what
is not my money.
Yeah.
And then whenever I go to church, I dump it out. Like,
yeah.
And when I read that book in college, I sort of had every excuse too of like, well, I'm just a poor college student, all this kind of stuff.
When we're out of debt, then we'll start 100%. Giving.
And, and so let me encourage you today, if you're listening, that like, when you start giving, whether it's 10% or more, you'll start to see God show up in your life. Like just straight.
Well, yeah, again, because it's like, what are the chairs behind and all the excuses of the not giving? You know, I feel like it's this belief of like, okay, so I'm going to do my natural part, and then, but I'm not actually, I don't believe that the Lord's going to do the supernatural.
Yeah.
That I'm going to give my natural part and then be screwed.
Yeah.
Like, really, I think that's the posture.
Yep.
I mean, I think sometimes it's a very real feeling posture. I'm not negating the feelings that surround that, but just like, yeah, like it can feel so scary.
Yeah.
But like, again, like if you picture yourself, you pick whatever scenario you want, that's like you not tucking in your cloak, you not raising your hands to part the sea. Like you have to do your part before so the Lord can show up then.
Yeah. And I think what we learn when we, like, as a poor college student who was eating like peanut butter out of the jar for meals, like I learned in that season that like it mattered, like to grow, to be sanctified and to grow in my Christian faith and my walk with Jesus. That 10% as a poor college student showed what mattered most. Like it was a physical representation of something deep in my soul, that I wanted to trust Jesus with everything.
Yeah.
And one of the hard things to trust him with at that point in life, because I didn't have very much, was money.
Yeah.
You know, and so as, you know, I'm no longer a poor college student.
Right.
And so, but I still have that sort of same attitude that like the giving is non-negotiable, no matter what scenario we find ourselves in, no matter how business dips or the ebbs and flows of life, or like even the month we were at Coinstar trying to pay our mortgage, like that doesn't, like we still gave through all of those seasons. And, and I think what that shows is like a faithfulness to Christ and to God, that like, and if we're faithful when we are eating peanut butter and don't have very much money, we can remain faithful when we hopefully have more and, you know, can give more.
Yes. Yeah. That's talked about in the book. Like just that concept of, you know, it's a chapter called Money is a Terrible Master, but a Great Servant. And talks about how like money, I think he's quoting somebody else when he says this. Yeah. He is, because it's in like, it's like centered in italicized. It's in italicized. That money amplifies your character. It's that simple. It allows you to repeat your ingrained habits easily. It has no judgment. It just enables you to be more of you.
Yeah.
I'm like, oof.
Yeah.
Oof in a good way too. Like, yes, I 100% believe that like it does. It, you know, money is not good or bad. It's amoral. It's just money, and you can do with it as you will and as you believe you should do with your money. And so like it just enables you to be more of you. And so when I think about people in my life that I know who have a lot or have a little, who are super generous or not generous, like I could go on either extreme of a bunch of different scenarios. And I find that to be true every time.
100%.
Like, because that doesn't mean that somebody with not a lot of money, I feel like it's amplifying them in a bad way. I'm just like, and yet they're still giving.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it can go either way, but it really does. It amplifies your character. And so like so many things, if we can start small sooner.
Yeah.
Like, why not?
Yeah. And just have the sort of posture of the heart that it all belongs to the Lord.
Yes.
That's been a big change, I think, for us over the last decade, is that like,
he talks a lot about that in here.
That just like at first it was just like this sort of like grind it out, like I need to take this money and put it in a jar because if I don't do that physical step, I'll sort of like come up with the reasoning to like
keep it where it is
of that step.
Yeah.
And as you, and so that's like the early stage, that's like the early montage of training of just like, oh, wow, this like, or like the, teenage movie where it's like, she's taking off her glasses. She's pretty now. Like, it's like this sort of like early thing that you're just like, oh, you just have to like grind it out a little bit. And then once you do, the muscle memory kicks in and you're able to do it like maybe more automated or whatever. But like, but that process is needed. And so while money highlights your character, you can also change your character. Like the Lord can sanctify you and change your character and make you more like him through the power of his Holy Spirit. And so we don't have to stay where we once were. We are now being ushered into a new person because of Jesus. And so while it started out as a grind early in college, as I was first starting to take my faith very seriously, what it's turned into is a joy. Like, it is a true joy to be generous. And it's like, I actively look for ways to do that. Like, it's not just like, oh, well, yeah, like it's automated. It's like, it's part of life. Like there comes a point, I think, where you turn a corner of like I've got to put it in the jar to like, I can't wait to put it in the jar.
I need a bigger jar.
Yeah. And that's a really fun and exciting part of life.
And
I feel like that's what I was modeled really well by my parents. That like, we were poor at some points, probably poorer than I realized as a kid, but like there was always a spirit of generosity flowing through our house via my mom and dad. And what they wanted to do with their money and their time and stuff. And so I want to have that as well.
That's good. You were talking about like what matters most. We were talking about it earlier with like our list and our conversations throughout the week. And then you had just mentioned it now. And so one of my other big takeaways, which is really just a version of what matters most, but I had never applied that thinking, which I literally teach on in Homejoy. Like it's a whole, you can
pre-order now.
You can pre-order it. It's fantastic. There's like a whole module that walks you through it and why it is so insanely helpful, even in the most like silly, simple day-to-day things. I had never truly done it around money and finances because in my mind, it was like, well, what matters most is paying our mortgage, paying our insurance, like blah, 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 like stuff that's not really what matters most. That's more of just like that's just it. I mean, I guess it could be at a point in life, what matters most, like literally what matters more than anything is that we pay this mortgage every month. But where it rocked my world was more in terms of like, not really extra spending, but just like those what would you call it? Like, like in our app, like it's not a predetermined amount.
So like
groceries fluctuates, things like that. The fluctuating categories.
He talks about this in the book that like he has he's got a name for it that I can't think of right now, but this sort of like
tons of helpful language and diagrams and stuff in the book.
We both lost our jobs and our income went to zero. What is sort of like the baseline? This is the lowest we can get our budget to survive. Right. Like he's got that number figured out.
And he asks you to figure it out, right? So that you have a perspective shift.
So there's obviously that sort of like baseline of like, this will pay for my housing, my food, my and then everything above that is like, these are things I just enjoy. Like this is stuff I like to do. This is like.
And he frames all that stuff so well where you don't feel guilty for being like, oh, I enjoy that kind of thing. And I actually want to spend my money on that,
And so you're talking about sort of like above that line.
I'm talking about above that line and also in categories in terms of like a budget or an app where like, you and I know like every month, what the insurance, what the this, what the water, but like we kind of are like, it's always this. It's like a predetermined number. And then there's the category of like food, household essentials, maybe kids' clothes, depending on who needs shoes this month, like that, like, ebbing, flowing category that like we're trying to keep it under a certain number. but there's no like hard number that just comes out of our account because it went through on the 15th kind of a thing. So the determining what matters most to me, again, to me, not to you, to me, because you're supposed to do it too, like in that area was super, super helpful. Because it's my example feels silly, but it's not because it worked.
Garland.
What?
Is it Garland?
No, it's not Garland. What matters most? He just talks about like how to spend more on what you love.
Yep.
That like, first of all, it's okay to love stuff and to want to spend your money on it. Like we can let go of this like guilt of like, I actually like things in life and I'm going to spend my money on the things that I like.
Like I really love going to the gym and doing CrossFit and lifting. And so I've spent money on new shoes.
Right.
And new lifters.
Right.
And wrist straps.
Right.
And and that kind of stuff.
But it matters to you. And so if you're presented this scenario over and over of like, do you want to choose to spend your money on this? And it's all those things you just mentioned, or do you want to choose to spend your money on this? In that moment, well, I actually would like to have money left over to buy shoes or to buy this or to buy that.
Yep.
And so for me, it's worked in a lot of ways for me, but my example is that I'd have all the kids in the car, we'd be out doing stuff and they'd be like, we want chocolate milks. And so I'd be like, sure. And we would go through Starbucks. Again, it's not even like hundreds of dollars or anything. But when it switched for me of like, does this actually matter to me? My like core values, who I am, the season I'm in, what I'm training my kids to do, like insert all these other areas where I'm very intentional in life. And I know all those things and I know what I'm working towards. Like, does going there frequently support that version of who I'm trying to become and what I'm trying to do? And I was like, no. 1,000% no. And that's an easy answer because what I cry over at times, when I really think about like, oh, I wish we had money for, like, if I could say, finish that sentence, it's things to do with our house. Like what drives me bananas, what I wish I could have, things like that, like where I get all discomforty and swirly over things is in that area. And so it was this silly, simple realization of like, hey, if I just don't go to Starbucks, unless I have a gift card or it's a business purchase, like, because I'm realizing it actually doesn't really matter to me. It doesn't really matter to 80-year-old Brooke. Like, and again, I'm not saying that you can't, that everything has to go through a filter of like, what do I want when I'm 80? Because then I would never buy anything perishable or anything. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But like, really though, money on things like that right now does not matter to me. And so it was so easy to stop doing it. I dropped that habit so fast.
Yeah. So you buy Garland.
So I could literally have enough money in the fun account to buy a Garland months later. Yeah. And I'm so pleased with that purchase. Hopefully, I haven't gotten it yet, but the reviews were good, because I was able to let the other thing go. And so like that seems kind of simple, kind of like, duh. Yeah. But like when I was able to really picture something that was easy to drop so that I could pick up something else financially, like it made it. And now I'm able to do that all the time. Like I can do that. I can filter through that.
Yeah. You're
so
quickly that muscle over and over again.
When I'm at the store or I'm ordering something. I mean, I went to TJ Maxx yesterday with Daisy to look for Christmas puzzles and of course ended up with like 7 things in my cart. And I very quickly put 3 or 4 things back right before we rounded the corner to check out. Yeah. Because this has nothing to do with this book, but that is how I have it. That helps me shopping like that.
Well, let's switch from the book then to like,
the only last thing was the Never 100.
Yeah. Which is again, is not rocket scientist. But the idea is like never spend 100% of your budget.
Just don't.
Or never spend
100% of what you make every month.
You make every month. If you do that,
you will have left over, and then you can figure out what to do with it.
And then if you do that for 20 years, you'll have a lot left over. Like, and so it's again,
it's not rocket science, but saying never 100. Like we've looked at each other and said, hey, never 100, like a few times, and it's like, oh yeah, that's why we're doing all this. That's why this matters.
And so outside of the book, which again, we'd recommend the book. I think it's simple yet refreshing to just like, I mean, this is like his ministry. Yeah. I know he has a podcast and I know he has a blog and he has online courses. Seed, like you plant in the ground, SEED, Time, Money podcast, 50 million readers on his blog. Like he is a big deal in the Christian financial world, I think. I've never heard of him, which I think is great. It's the best finance book I've ever read. 5 stars. I'm going to leave a review. It's the only one.
It's also the only finance book I've ever read.
But yeah, it's just like a nice, simple, like refreshing, easy to digest, language building finance book.
It is.
I think that's the tagline.
Right. And so if I picture
this just in, some people know how business is done.
Yeah. If I think about this, back to the thing I said at the beginning, using the concept a little differently. If I think about this book as being handed a keychain of 25 keys, there's 25 places I could start. There's 25 doors to unlock. It was like this helpful, like, okay, I have this keychain now and I'm just going to pick a key and open that door and I'm going to start there. And then it's been easier to like unlock other things moving forward.
This is like so silly. And because Brooke and I like laughing so much, we end up using phrases that are really real to us.
Actually helpful.
As like to make us laugh.
Talk about depreciation.
Yes. Well, no. Oh, that one is good too. But like we make our own milk every week.
Right.
Coconut cashew milk.
Right.
From the almond cow.
Yeah.
And so you get about 4 bottles of milk out of it.
Yeah.
And then the 5th bottle is like a little bit grainy,
It's just very textured because of the ingredients in it.
But I've said, save all you can.
Save all you can. As the chunky coconut stuff is falling out of the bottom.
I put it into a jar and then I like
strain it a bunch of times.
A bunch of times. And it like takes me a few extra minutes.
Right.
But it's like this.
But you actually end up with more milk. You really do. Yep. More usable milk.
Goes longer.
It feels silly, but it's not. Like you add all that up and I'd say every month, that's an extra few jars. Yep. Like full complete like jugs I'm talking about. Yeah.
And so, okay. So outside of the book, what are like some of your simple, like you just said, you shop and put 7 things in the cart and take 3 out.
Right.
What are some like simple things that you do in the world of maybe saving money, earning money, just money in general that you think is super helpful?
Well, we talk nonstop about the app formerly known as Digit.
Yeah. Opportune.
It's now Opportune. That we don't use it as much as we used to, but I feel like that's because it was our way of grinding it out and having the muscle memory to now implement a system differently, which works for us now. But it was so...
We still do use it.
We still do use it, but not as much, not as heavily as we used to.
The Digit takes money out of your checking account.
You link it. It's smart. There's a robot in there.
It learns your spending and your earnings and all this kind of stuff.
Yes.
And so it just, and you set goals and it just pulls money out of your checking account slowly. And then all of a sudden, 6 months in, you've saved
like
$500 for your Christmas gifts. And
or you're like, I have $2,500 in this account for our family vacation.
Yeah.
How? I thought we wouldn't be able to do that. Yeah. It's like I thought we couldn't survive without it.
And so it just does it.
It does. It moves it so small and simple.
And obviously that depends on sort of how big your goal is, like
how quick.
Yeah, how quick you want it. There are some determining factors in there.
Right.
But if it's a realistic goal within what you think you can do, it's super good and it's a great app.
Because it takes it out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, that's a huge one. And then we use the budgeting app Copilot. And I'll try to let me make a note to link these.
Yeah.
And that one's just super helpful.
That's the one you've stuck with the longest. Yep. You like that one the longest.
And I've tried a bunch of them, and the Copilot one is
your personal favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah. I started this a long time ago. I mean, I remember, I think I only had Sunny at the time. It was this silly little thing where I thought I was like at a Target trip and knew in my head, hey, try not to spend more than you need to. Yeah. Like every trip, right? You go in thinking that, hopefully, unless it's like a gift card and you're like, this is amazing, But I did something I had never done before, which is I went through the whole store and everything that I saw that I was like, about, or maybe not everything, but to the point where I was actually like, man, should I really spend money on that? Would that be helpful? I put it in my cart and I moved on. I kept walking. And then I had this little spot. I can still picture it in the Lidditz Target where I would pull my cart over in the big girls section.
Some employees are going to be listening to this and be like,
it was you. Yeah. No, I had this place where I would pull over because it was a visual way to represent. It's hard for me to know what matters most going into a Target trip when I don't see everything. Once I saw everything that piqued my interest or that I actually needed, the real groceries that were on my list, and I could see it all in a cart at once, it became very obvious what rose to the top and what I could let go. And it was so much better than me doing my loop, only picking things on my list. I mean, there's certainly times where I do a Target trip and there's nothing off my list that happens. I'm talking about when you have a little more room, but you're trying to not do that thing where you go to Target and spend way more than you should have. It was just so much easier to be like, okay, this doesn't actually matter right now. I don't need this. I don't need this many of this.
Yeah.
Like, let me come back for this. It just was a visual way of, it was just really helpful. Because otherwise I'd walk through and I'd be 4 rows over still thinking about the thing 4 rows back. I don't know. Can I? Should I? Like whatever. And then I'm trying to check out. And then I'm like, I'm going to go back and get it because I'm like panicked. I'm missing out. And now I'm spending something I don't want. Like it was this whole like mental jujitsu of like, what's it going to be? How much am I going to spend? Blah, blah, blah. Instead of just being like, it's sitting in the cart. I'm not buying anything in it. Like it's just in my cart walking with me so I can see it all at once and then go, don't need half this stuff.
Okay.
And I still do it.
That's cool. I think one for me, and this is one that I still need to get you on board with, is like and there's all sorts of memes and videos about it now of like, this money is real. If you have
like
cash,
the girl math and this and
if you
that.
have cash, it still counts as real money.
Yeah.
If it's in your Venmo, it's still real money. Like if it's a gift card, it's still real money.
Yeah.
And so like when you have that sort of perspective, because I can fall victim to that too. Like, oh, I got someone paid me in Venmo, whatever. Like that's just now profit. And it's like, no, they're paying me back for something I bought. Like,
yes.
And so like, and I know that people like joke about that and there's all sorts of memes about it, but like,
and it's funny because it's relatable,
it is,
but it's also very real.
Yeah.
All money is real money.
Yes.
Except maybe crypto. I'm not totally sure.
I don't get it either. But if you sort of have that perspective, like you'll waste some of that, you know? And so like when we have a gift card, like we talk about, are we in a place where we can just use this gift card on something extra? Or is this like a gift card to help us supplement our, cut down on our cash spend and we're just going to buy the necessities with it.
Right.
And so that has been very, very helpful.
Yeah.
I also like, again, I'll say it again, the Copilot app and the Opportune app have been very helpful. It's just like a daily,
which he talks about in the book a lot, like never fully depend on your willpower. There's a whole chapter about that. And then like automate everything you can. And those apps are a version of that automation that just is like, take it off your brain, take it off your plate, decide once how you're going to do something so you don't decide day in and day out. And
I think I've also sort of recently, we should probably end soon, is like,
I have to pee so badly.
Okay. I've sort of decided that like, it's okay to make more money. You know, I think
he talks about that.
An element in the Christian world where it's like, why do you want to make money?
Yeah. What's your motive there?
Yeah.
What's up with you, guy?
You know, and it's just like, it's okay. Like, to want to make more money, and it's okay to use your brain and your skills and your abilities to pursue that. Yeah. You know, obviously if that becomes your master, that's a whole nother thing. But like if you have a high giving goal and you can't give that much at what you currently make, right, but you want to give that much, like, right, I think it's okay to try to make more. Yeah. You know, like if you can do it honorably and kindly and all that kind of stuff.
And know that in making more, it will only amplify who you are.
Yeah. And like and I think Becky always says that is like, I'd rather have that money in kingdom hands. And so I've felt a lot of peace of that. And it's actually helped me pursue new ideas, new products, new businesses in a way that's not like there's no sort of like weird self-guilt on that. It's like, let's see what the Lord can do with this and I'll be happy to steward it for him.
Yes.
And that's been really freeing to me. So those are sort of like some of the more practically things when it comes to money that I've been thinking about. Obviously there's so much you can talk about when it comes to money and finance. Yeah. I think this book, if you feel like you're at a place where like, especially if you're like newly married and you're trying to figure out how to like live and spend and work together as a new husband and wife, I think this book is great for that. But it's also sort of this nice refresh on just like, okay,
here's how it can work.
Yeah. Like let's say let's say you're at a place of comfortability. You know, you're not going to Coinstar, but but you're not,
maybe you're ready to invest in Coinstar.
Yeah.
Right? Like maybe you've jumped to the other side.
But maybe, you're not just buying everything you ever want, but it's like you're in a comfortable place. This is just a nice refresh to sort of paint the perspective of what 50 years looks like from now. And so what are those small natural things we're doing in the immediate to get to our goal there, or to get to our goal by the end of the year, or to give X amount or whatever. I think this is just a fantastic book, and I'm thankful for Jesse for recommending it to us.
Yes.
So I think that's all we've got for you this week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for making us part of your week.
Okay, I love you. Bye.